chocolate factories. It doesn't matter. Auto body shops, factories, fabs, everything. Docks, roads, dams, reservoirs, everything. Total financial dictatorship. They're doing it again and posing as our saviors while they do it. Oh, no, the powerful offshore banks that already control the planet's financial system, they don't want military and physical control. Banks would never bankrupt the economy to repossess land, though it's in all their handbooks. And they would certainly never do it for absolute financial global dictatorship, even though they're in Time Magazine, Newsweek, Financial Times of London, and hundreds of other publications saying they need a world financial dictatorship for your own good, of course. Of course. And they're going to make it all better because they want you to have a happy life, and they want you to have lots of children and live in a nice house and have lots of vacation time. All their official Pentagon documents say they want to break the family up and euthanize you and sterilize people, and they're caught in the media again doing it today in the London Guardian. But let's just trust these people. They only funded Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Hitler, Pol Pot, and everybody else. They're only ruthless and see us as animals and have not just no compulsion against killing us, it's their religion. They enjoy it. Let's just trust them. It's good to have cameras in the school bathrooms and on the street corners and have the police wearing black masks. That's good. It's good to be thumbprinting at libraries and businesses and grocery stores and to get and to clock in at work and at tanning salons and everywhere else. It's normal. It's good to have face scanning cameras going up everywhere. It's good to be tracked with license plate reading software. It's good that for 36 years at birth, they took your blood secretly and put it in a DNA eugenics database for bioweapon development, race-specific, now have declassified it. I told you 12 years ago, now it's mainstream news. It's all good. It's a trusting government. It's a loving government. It's a legitimate government. It's a good government of offshore bankers, and they're going to help everybody. They're going to love you real good and just pet you and pat you on the head. Like a lovingly grandfather. That's what Bernanke is in Greenspan. It's normal to have them on TV saying they're a private bank above the law and no one can touch them or investigate them. That's completely normal. It's completely normal to have police all over the country now just robbing people on the side of the road, grabbing their cash out of their wallets, like Mexico or North Korea. Oh, help us. Help us, God. Here we are, now inside the final phases of the New World Order takeover. All the preparations, all the setting of the table. You know, they were slicing up the potatoes and marinating the steak, and they were boiling the artichokes and slicing up the squash and making a big salad. You know, that's making the salads, breaking up the family, CPS and the kids, slicing up the potatoes, shipping in heroin and cocaine, and then putting the idiots in prison when they use it, and building private prisons everywhere. The steak is the vaccines and the mercury and the cancer viruses and the fluoride, the killing you. That's the real enjoyment on the table. You. The butter. The butters, the IRS, seizing people's houses who've even paid the fake money of the Federal Reserve. The rolls, the bread. The bread is the tasering and the torturing and the death and the corruption and the destruction of the Bill of Rights and Constitution. And they baked the bread and they seared the steak and put a scald on it, delicious flavor. And now they're sitting down. And they're starting to bite into that bread, and they're starting to slice into that steak. They're just getting started on a long 7-course meal. But they want to eat it while it's hot. They're not going to take their time anymore. They took their time making the meal. They took their time making the dinner. And they got big goblets of red wine, the blood of the innocents. That's their favorite part, along with the steak, is the blood of the innocents, all those abortions. 50 million of them, and it's going to grow. It's going to be even better. So they're just now guzzling big goblets of red wine. Oh, it's warm in their stomach, that blood. of the children. Oh, the steak. The steak seared on the outside, but bloody red and pulp on the inside. It's good to them. It's good to be predators. It's good to feast on man flesh. And the corn. Biting into that big corn on the cob. Taking people's dreams, taking people's hopes. They love the poverty. They love the lack of hope, the lack of... And over it all, the table itself is the television set, and the plates, and the utensils. It's the device of mind control, the device of programming, the device that brought this country to its knees so it could be feasted upon by the parasites of hell. Bankster holiday planned for September, coming up in 15 minutes with Bob Chapman. I said I'd get to this last week, and I didn't. And I can't find the article Paul Watson, or was it Steve Watson, wrote about it, about the Wall Street Journal. I like the background he gives. It's called It's Time to Cool the Planet. Cutting greenhouse gases is no longer enough to deal with global warming, says top scientist. He argues that we also had to do something more direct. Chemtrailing, and then Discovery Channel's got pieces where they need to build dome cities or the global warming is going to kill us. Just total panicking, lying to drive us into their arms so their neo-feudal government agencies and Green Corps brigades of felons, New York Times last week, they're hiring felons en masse. New York Times. This is really happening. And they're brainwashing your kids and turning them against you. New York Times also reported on that, how the 7-year-old bosses mommy around, and she says, I love my daughter bossing me around. She brings, and she writes me tickets. It was actually about, they mentioned another mother in the article. I'm combining two. That was in the London Guardian article about in England, the kids write their parents tickets by the time they're 11 or 12, and then write dossiers on them. Mama takes a hot bath, bad carbon footprint. The teachers are now drilling them on turning mommy and daddy in and how they're heroes. Oh, I can't even take it anymore. It's just too incredible. It's too over the top. I mean, just hardcore, raging, classical corruption, science fiction nightmare. That's how Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, I've been describing it like that for over a decade, and that's how he describes it now, is it's like a science fiction dystopia that if you wrote a book this insane, this crazy, this wild 20 years ago, people would throw it down saying this is too far-fetched. But you know what's so interesting about it? They're overkilling the grid, building the massive military grid, the control grid, the dehumanization grid, the brainwashing grid around us, overkilling it. But not moving overtly, massively in a physical fashion against everybody. They're doing it in an asymmetrical, low-intensity way with excuses. They know if they approach you and say, oh, I'm taking your kid because the neighbor said they saw him playing in the backyard alone, you'll kind of still feel like it's the authorities and let your kid disappear into their clutches. Or if your kid's been late to class, they put your kid on probation, no judge, no jury. They just call you in and say, sign this or I'm going to take your kid. And the person waives their rights and signs it. It's all contract fraud. Now your kid's in the system. And so now they can white glove inspect them and take their rights forever. It's a seduction. It's a induction. It's a schmoozing into the tyranny. It's an easing in. It's like breaking a horse. First you get it dependent. One way to break a horse, wild horse, you got a pen. It's got grain in it every day. First, the younger, stupider horses, the less experienced, they're not even stupid, they're ignorant. They go in, they start eating the grain. Finally, the older ones start going in. The Mustangs start eating the grain. And the water. Then you close the gate while they're in there. Then you get them used to you walking around them for a few days, feeding them. And then you find those that are less skittish and scared, and you learn to put a bridle on them. And then after they're used to the bridle for a few days and being fed after you put the bridle on them, you try to put a saddle on them, and then you get on them, and they try to throw you off, but then they learn that they don't get hurt when you do it, and then they get fed afterwards. And that's how they got you on welfare. That's how they got us all dependent. That's how they got us used to taking orders and filling out the forms they give us and waiving our rights to the Fourth Amendment and doing what we're told. No, you'll answer the census and tell us how many guns you got and how much money you make. Well, now let us in your house. Oh, you'll let us ask your kids about what's in your medicine cabinet. We'll just have the kids fill out weekly reports on everything you're doing. Oh, you'll put up with that. Hell, we'll tell the kids to bring cameras home and spy on you. You notice how all the toys they push on kids are how to be a spy and how to spy on your parents and the TV ads? It's all so much fun. This is really sick. They're using your children's hunting instincts and misappropriating them, misdirecting them into spying on you or predatory activity against you. If you look at the sociology, the anthropology, the psychology,